Hi, my friends. Welcome to Inside the Minds of Authors. I'm DC Gomez, your host, and also an indie author. I'm thrilled you're joining me today for another fun interview with a passionate author. We're going to kick off this show with an exciting reading, so let's get started.
Hi, I'm CJ Peterson, and I'm kind of crashing into DC Gomez's podcast today. For those who don't know me, I'm an author, blogger, podcaster, and publisher. I'm an author of 13 books, the Christian fiction series books, also a children's book author. I have a blog called Journey to Fruitfulness. I'm a podcaster, and the podcast show is The Journey is Real, which I have had DC on. And I'm a publisher, co-owner of a publishing company with my sister, LM Mann, and the publishing company is Texas Sisters Press. What I'll be reading today is the last scene from Chains Broken. Basically, to set this up a little bit, the Grace Restored series, the Holy Flame trilogy, and standalone book Strength from Within are all going on at the same time. The Divine Legacy series is a 20-year jump, and it's the kids from those other series. What I'm going to do is kind of read the last scene because it pretty much sets the scene for the entire group of books. So sit back and relax and enjoy. It's an environment that I wouldn't trade for anything, Rachel said on a sigh. Sitting back in her chair as Jessie leaned against the desk remaining on the floor, Rachel said, "Some of the groups represented in the angel units here and around the world are filled with people whose countrymen are sworn enemies. However, the bond of the Lord brings us all together. Sometimes it amazes me beyond words." "Tell me about it," Jessie chuckled. "I'm grateful for each one of them, though. I can't believe the people we have helped and run across over the years. And then there are the accidental angels." "Accidental angels? Is there such a thing?" "Well, neither Jacob nor Jared were on the original list. We just acquired them." "This is true," Rachel said, thinking about it. "I'm glad they stepped up. The chain of events that brought them to us was unique, to say the least. They're both brilliant in their own right. Just don't tell Jared," she said with a wink. "I like to keep him humble." Jessie burst out in laughter. "That goes for Jacob, too." "I'm glad they stepped up, though. There's a lot of work out there for us to do." "There is, but as a family in Christ, we know that we're never alone and that someone will step up when needed. We all have our own gifts. Even those prayer warriors out there are on Team Angel without knowing it." "What do you mean?" "How many people have prayed for us over the years without knowing why? Those people prayed us to safety. Just like the various gifts we have, along with the various personalities and skill sets that are on these teams, the Christians of the world are also a part of this, but on a bigger scale. If they knew the true power they held, there could very well be a wave of Christianity that would circle the globe. All of those fellow Christians, whether they know it or not, are on Team Angel, wherever they're located. There are U.S. angels, Canadian angels, Russian angels, English angels, Irish angels, Cuban angels, and the list goes on. They are angels, all angels in their own right. This is true. I pray they discover this sooner rather than later. They will reap vast blessings when they decide to join the team for the Lord. Crazy when you think about how we're all linked. No matter where they're from, if they are a brother or sister in Christ, they are a part of the family and the team." "Totally agree." Just then there was a knock on the door. "Come on in," Rachel called out. Opening the door, Joe only poked his head in and said, "Rachel, God just gave me an assignment for us." After Joe explained the assignment, Rachel got the two teams together in the cyber cave so everyone could be present. Once seated, Rachel leaned against Corey's desk as she said, "Guys, we have a big assignment. This will require all of you to use your strengths and skills God gave you. Part of this will take place in Jerusalem, a portion in Egypt, and another portion in Somalia. While I realize those are distinctly different areas, they are all connected. I also realize they aren't the safest of areas at the moment. This will be a volunteer mission," she declared. "While I could use all of you, I am making this one optional. You all have a choice to make, and as I recite the words once said to me by a strong man of God, I ask you to consider your decision. You see, when we took over the angels, Mark English sent us out with a commission. I'm going to repeat that commission to you," he said. "You are all called for a reason. You are called to fight the good fight for the kingdom. This is not a position that will land you with fame and fortune. You will never be on television, nor will you be a startling success in the eyes of the world. You will not lead a normal life in this job. You will operate in the shadows, but you will receive blessings beyond measure for what you do. There's a new army rising all over the world, the Lord's army. You are all a part of this. Your job is to bring those into this to help others. The Spirit has given you an assignment to free those who are bound in spiritual chains. You will help provide what is needed for those who are His. You will fight some literal battles as well as spiritual ones. You will literally take on the gates of hell. I will caution you in this, and I pray you heed my warning. Do not underestimate the other side. Do not think for a moment that the mountain was a victory. We may have woken a sleeping giant when we blew up that mountain so long ago. The other side will be waiting around every corner. They will do their best to stop whatever it is that the Lord Almighty wants you to do. This will be a race for lives while you try to stay alive yourselves. The rewards will be great, but the cost will be tremendous. There have been many who have paid a portion of the price over the years. There will be many people you will meet along the way. Sometimes you will get there in time to help, sometimes you will not. Know whatever you choose on this day that there'll be no turning back. If you choose to go, you are potentially volunteering for your death. You will be marked. Satan would like nothing better than to take you out. He has had a lot of time to study you. He knows you better than you know yourself. Having said all of that, I feel each of you are here for a purpose. I feel you were each brought here for such a time as this. The kingdom needs you. They need your training and expertise. You have been called. What is your answer? Rachel asked the teams. In unison, without hesitation, all the members of both teams stood and said, "Here I am, send me."
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Inside the Minds of Authors. I am so thrilled and honored to have the fabulous Miss CJ with us today. Hi, madam. How are you?
Great. Thank you for having me on.
It is amazing. I don't know what you're saying. You're crashing the show. You can come anytime. You are officially one of the few people that puts me to shame because you do more than I do. I was like, oh my God, how is that possible?
Honestly, it's because I'm ADD and OCD at the same time. So that alphabet jumbles pretty well when you learn how to work with them.
We are officially must be sisters from a different mother because I am blown away. Like we flow in the same world.
Mm-hmm.
I am so excited you're here, and our listeners are going to have such a treat. And we're going to just get started. Let's start with the books.
Okay.
The reading you just gave us. Give us a little background because it's an entire universe you have created, and I want to hear all about it. Where does this series come from? Where did it start? So tell us.
Well, let me start it this way. There are two types of writers in this world. There are planners and there are pantsers. I am a pantser. I literally write by the seat of my pants. I sit down, pray, and write. And I write until I can't write anymore. And then I put it up. And then I read the last chapter and pray and start writing again. That's how I've done all my books. The Grace Restored series is what I tend to start people on. That series follows Katie McKenna. Hers deals with domestic violence and how she recovers from that, as well as, police and FBI. The Holy Flame trilogy is Casey Carter, and that deals with firefighting and military. And that's where you kind of jump in with both feet to the world of the angels. Angel stands for available to nurture God's eternal love. Where there's dark and there's light, where there's angels, there's demons. In this world, they get their assignments from Michael the Archangel, who sends them out in the world to help people. Now, the third book that I want to talk about, and that is Strength from Within. That one follows Stacy Spencer. Stacy isn't as prevalent in the Divine Legacy series, but her son comes in at the very end. So all of the characters actually cross over storylines. Rachel, the one I read about, is actually Katie McKenna's daughter. Jesse, who you heard about, is Casey Carter's son. So the next generation, basically, it takes like a 20-year jump between those three things I talked about originally and the Divine Legacy series. So they're passing on the Divine Legacy of the angels to the next generation. And when they take over, all sorts of chaos happens all over the world, including what I call an international incident angel style. So it gets fun.
International incident angel style just sounds like all sorts of drama ready to happen.
It is.
Yeah, international incidents like this is not going to be good for anybody. Let's be honest. Be prepared. Buckle up. It's about to happen.
You got these know-it-all kids about college age that are taking over the angels. So you put that recipe together and see what happens.
Yeah, recipe for disaster. It's about to go down.
Pretty much.
I love your technique, and I haven't heard it before because you literally are going to sit down, you're going to pray, and then you're going to write.
Yep.
Like we're officially taking divine influence to a whole new level. Have you always done it that way?
I have. As a matter of fact, I'm working on a Christian sci-fi trilogy called the Sands of Time trilogy. And that's what I'm doing right now. And I'm already a book and 2/3 in. And I'm going to finish the other third in the other book and get that started. Hopefully I'll publish the first book appointed time, end of August, September area, somewhere in there.
because you do a little bit of everything. So we can go down this rabbit holes anywhere. It's like, whoa, where do we go?
Where do you start?
I know. I'm trying to go like, what do I pick? I got too much to pick. What do we do? When did you started writing? Let's talk into the author side.
Writing itself, I've been writing since I was a senior in high school. But through several people discouraging me, I kind of set it aside. And then I ended up going through a domestic violence situation. And when I came out of it, if you know anybody who's been in that situation, usually their self-esteem is like pretty much been trumped on, and you really had like none. And then I met this wonderful man. I call him Super Hubby. Trevor has encouraged me to pick it back up because I read the books to him. When you're sharing a piece of art, doesn't matter what type of art it is, whether it's a song or painting or drawing or a book, you are sharing a part of yourself. It is like gut-wrenchingly nervous to share it with anyone. And so when I shared it with him, he goes, "Oh my gosh, you need to publish these things." My books are unique. Normally, traditional Christian fiction fits this pretty little box with a pretty little bow. Once you're saved, you never fall. You know, you're always on the right path, and yada, yada, yada. That doesn't happen in my world. My people trip, fall flat on their face. God picks them up, dusts them off, and moves them forward. He's like, this is going to be unique because not many people know this side of Christianity. They usually think it's, you know, either angels going, ah, and everything is great, or they just don't. They don't really think about it. There are two sides to Christianity, though, that people tend to ignore. And one of that side is the spiritual warfare side. And that's what a lot of my books tackle. If you're familiar with Frank Peretti's This Present Darkness, it's kind of along those lines. Only you're dealing with the spiritual realm on the physical plane. There's like Calliope comes into play. There's sirens. There's all sorts of interesting characters are in the books. Of course, demons, and then what we call unnaturals, which are possessed. And so they're dealing with all of that stuff. But as far as publishing, I started publishing in 2012. That was the Strength from Within. That was my kind of tiptoe into the author world. After I started publishing the Grace Restored series, I quit acknowledging Strength from Within until I completely rewrote it and republished it in 2019. So now it is up to the standard of the other books. You know, most authors I know have that one book that got tucked in the bottom of their drawer. Well, I went ahead and pulled it out and dusted it off because Stacy's son comes into play in that last book in the Divine Legacy series. And so I wanted to give it the credit that the rest of them had.
I love your journey. I love the fact that you're resurrecting yourself, let's be honest, into a beautiful thing that motivates so many people. Let's be honest about it. You have taken something that is so traumatizing. Anybody who meets you, anybody who sees you, anybody who comes across you will never in a million years think, you went through what? You did what?
We were just talking about part of that when we started. In 2016, I went septic due to an incident during a surgery. Long story short, I ended up with full kidney, full liver, 50% cardiac failure. That was actually the same month that the Divine Legacy, the first book of the Divine Legacy series, was supposed to be published. And so my sister emailed my publisher, said, hold off, don't do that yet. We're not ready for it. She's, you know, this is her situation. And so we were able to get me back up to where I needed to be. Literally, God saved me. He happened to have the chief of surgery there at just that time. And our family, we don't believe in coincidence. We call them Godcidences. And that was a Godcidence. He happened to be military. My husband is retired Navy senior chief, who was also a physician's assistant when he retired. And so he got to work with the doctor for my care, which was a true blessing. Now, the beauty of all of this, as I said this, is that Divine Legacy, I've won 5 awards so far. And the Divine Legacy are 4 of them, including Best Christian Fiction Series of 2019. Had all of that not happened, had I not survived that 2016 debacle, is what we kind of nickname it, then the Divine Legacy series, the podcast, the blog, none of that would have happened. It would have stopped right there. And there are stories that I could tell you since 2016, including a girl that I mentor. She goes to TJC, Tyler Junior College, and she had talked to a girl who was not a Christian, and she was telling her about the books. And the girl goes, I'll take a shot. I don't want to read them. 2 weeks later, she comes running up to her, and she had accepted Christ through the books. And so again, had I left in 2016, a lot of that stuff wouldn't have come into fruition. I don't take second chances lightly. And God gave me that chance, and I'm taking it and running with it.
You're beyond running. We're officially sprinting. Let's be honest about this. Most of us might be taking a stroll down the park. You're officially on an Olympic sprint and you're winning this race.
Thank
And
you.
you're doing it beautifully. I think you're one of those people that everybody carries their sadness and whatever past with them, and you can see it on their face. And when you meet you're radiating this joy and you're radiating that second chance with this passion
Mhm.
that is just contagious. You're like, oh God, I need to like do more. Let's go.
Well, and some of the stories in the books are mine. I tell people, especially Katie McKenna is probably the one that's the most like me and most story wise like me. And people are like, well, which parts are you? I'm like, I'm not going to tell you. The people in the reviews are like, well, this would never happen. And I kind of read the review and chuckle myself and go, no, actually, that one was one of the true stories, but nice try. I take what God has taken me through and I have pushed it and transformed it with God's help into something that's helping other people.
You officially have taken all of your tasks and turned it into a testimony that is touching lives at a whole new level.
Well, and then the beauty of it is that a portion of the proceeds from Grace Restored series goes to Hope's Door, which is a domestic violence shelter in Plano. A portion of the proceeds from the Holy Flame trilogy and the Divine Legacy series both go to Airborne Angel Cadets of Texas, who ship packages overseas to the military. And a portion of the proceeds from Strength Within goes to Counseling Center for Teens. I'm sorry, I can't remember what it is right now, but it's on my website. And so I'm taking a portion of the proceeds from those books and I'm paying it forward.
I love it. It's powerful, and you're doing this because you're called to do it and you love doing it,
Mhm.
which is so contagious.
Hey, you get paid for making stuff up. It's great. It's also kind of a form of therapy, though, because I can take some of those stories that were really bad and I can change the ending.
For every listener, everyone, every aspiring author, that is probably one of those powerful messages to actually think about it. We can heal ourselves through our words. Anybody who doesn't believe in magic, write a book.
Mhm.
We'll teach you what magic is.
Exactly.
Let's jump into one of your many other careers. Why not?
Why not? Pick one.
Let's
Pick
just
one if you want.
let's just pick one. Publisher.
Mhm.
What does that mean? When did you decide it? You know what? It's not enough to be an author. Let's jump into the other side of the house. Tell
Sure,
us.
why not? You know, why pay for something that I can do, with my sister? The beauty is that my sister and I are doing it together, which brings us together even closer, and we complement each other. If you see us at a table, we complement each other's work. We're never in competitions with each other, and her strengths are my weaknesses, and usually my weaknesses are her strengths. And so that allows us to work together really well. I started publishing in 2012. I finally kicked her tail in and she got her first book published in 2015 and she has since run with it. And she will tell you the same things. I'm not kicking her without her knowing it. She says the same thing.
Oh no. For all of our listeners, go back and listen to LM. She was on the podcast and she gives you full 100% credit for anybody. So go back and listen to that one. She's like, yeah, so my sister, I was like, I can see CJ doing this. So yes, we have it on
Mhm.
record. It's on the books. Everybody go listen to that.
Yep.
So yes,
I'm
madam.
not saying anything she hasn't said. She published as well. We both published through the same publisher. Loved them. They're booklocker.com. So if we can't help you, we tend to send them over there because Angela Hoy is great. Nothing is hidden, no hidden fees or anything. Why I published all 12 books, technically 13, but remember I wasn't acknowledging the first one through them. And so Lydia did a bunch of them, LM. And so she's like, I'll bet you we could do this. I said, sure, why not? And so, we're Texas sisters. So we did Texas Sisters Press. We thought, great, we can save money publishing our own stuff. There'll be great write-offs. It'll be great. It'll be learning experience. And then people are like, you know what? We like you too. I want to write a book and I want to use you guys. And we're like, sure, just wait a minute. Let us republish all of our books. So we went through the torment and torture of republishing my books, which I had to fight Amazon on multiple levels to get done. And once we got those done and I got Strength from Within republished and she got The Nightmare King republished all through Texas Sisters Press. So now we're under that banner. We're able to take on more people. We've taken our first author, which was Matthew Martinez, who wrote a really cute children's book on the sock that went on deployment. And so the sock got separated from its pair. He went on a ship, a Navy ship, went on deployment and came back, and then he was joined together with the pair. It's a really cute concept. And we've signed a couple other authors since then. And so we're always looking for authors. Our mom just passed away at the end of January. She was an 88-year-old Southern Belle. If she can read it and not blush, then we can talk. That's where our line is drawn.
I love it because Lydia's like, Mom loves your cat lady special book. So
I
trusting
love
her,
your quality special books.
let's be honest, the line is not as high as you think. Because if she didn't blush and love the book, guys, you will be good.
Mine kind of tote the line on violence. Do draw a line on a lot of the sexual explicit stuff. That's an absolute no. Mine do get violent because you're dealing with demons on this plane. That's kind of where our line is when it comes to Texas Sisters Press. But what we do is when an author contacts us on our website, texassisterspress.com, I'm usually the one that gets the email. And what we like to do is sit down with each author because each author is unique. Their situation is unique. Where they are is unique. And half the time, they don't even know which direction to go. And so we sit down and we do a Zoom interview with every author that contacts us that is interested in publishing through us. We find out where they are, where we can help, if we can help. If not, give them a direction that they can head. Because Lydia and I look at this author world as we're all in this together. We had other people who came, allowed us to come underneath their wing and help guide us. And that's what we want to do for other authors. One thing we did as kind of a way to show that was we did a Christmas anthology. It's called 'Tis the Season, a Holiday Anthology 2020, which DC does have a really cute story in. But one of the authors has never published before in her life that's in there. And so that allowed her an opportunity to be exposed to the audience of the other authors that are in the book. And so we're always about helping authors and giving them a shot and kind of helping where we can.
We're a very small community, regardless of what anybody says. I don't care what people believe or not. The author world is very small.
Mhm.
So when you are helping each other, you're paying it forward. You're creating this synergy that's just absolutely amazing energy. So for everybody who wants to have an experience of the holidays, just take a look at it. But being with you guys and the experience you guys put it together and how professional and how easy you made it is what you always want. Yes, trust me, it was easy. I've been into many different projects. This was cake, but it was so much fun.
Mhm.
And it's just to watch the finished product and everything you guys did. So as a publishing house, I can't wait to see what you guys come up because it's going to be amazing.
Thank you. Yeah,
So
we
let's
did that, especially the book launch. Getting all of those authors into one book launch was a treat. So
it
it's
was so much fun. It's so exciting. So podcast.
Yes.
When did you start this podcast? Because by the way, as you guys can tell, she's one of my favorite people because I have anytime she's like, hey, you want to hang out? Yes, of course I'm going to say yes. Like, you don't even
You're
have to
one of
tell.
ours too. We actually ran into DC in 2018.
Yes.
2018 at a book show, and we just clicked immediately. She's, a sister from another mister sort of idea, and we've just loved her to death.
It's been so much fun. But tell us, what is your podcast? Because it's a little different and it's so much fun. Tell us.
It is, but let me start with something. The tagline for my books is while the stories are fiction, the journey is real. The reason I point that out was because when I started to make a podcast, I thought, what do I want to hit? What do I want to touch? My books touch your heart, touch your core. The passion is what drives them. The passion for the angels is what drives the angels to do what they do for the Lord. That's their passion. What they're doing for God and the kingdom. And so that's their passion. And I thought, I really want to do a podcast about people and their passions, but I want to do real everyday people. I'm tired of seeing the same faces over and over. I don't know if you guys are or not. And I wanted not only their passion, but I wanted the journey that brought them there because the journey is real. So I did The Journey is Real. We talked to real people with real passions who share a real portion of their hearts. And I've had some incredible guests, some fascinating ones. Some laugh, some cry. You never know what's going to happen. I had to go on a sabbatical because my mom passed away. And we also lost my husband's service dog the next month. So it's been a brutal few months. But my husband actually got on camera with me. We're launching the first one to restart us on April 6th. And so that's him and I sitting down and just talking about, a year in review and what it's looked like and why we had to take that sabbatical. But I'm excited to get it back on. I've got people like lining up to be interviewed. So if you have a passion, go to my website, cjpetersonwrites.com, under Journey's Real Podcast, and you can fill out a form and I will get you set up and get you in. And I launched it the terrible year that we just had in 2020, which I jokingly say is a new level of Jumanji on every month. One of those levels in February was Oregon Trail. So I'm not quite sure what I want to see, April bring us. But I launched it because it has to do with the heart. I actually launched it on Valentine's Day in 2020.
I love everything you're creating, and everything has such a huge piece of who you are and your passion and your love. And you always bring in your ministry to everything. So it's not like anything separate. Everything's very cohesive and it
Yeah.
flows really well. Tell us about blogging, because I'm like, bloggers is amazing to me, and I still don't understand it because it just sounds like little mini pieces of a book. And I'm like, do I want to do that? Why don't I just make a book? So, what is it? What are you doing? What are you blogging about? Tell us.
The blog is called A Journey to Fruitfulness. Keeps going with the journey, same theme. In our blog, I'm taking the story of us, my husband and I, again, call him Super Hubby, and we're taking our 5 acres from ground zero and turning into a fully functioning, self-sustaining farm. I share our joys, our successes, our mistakes, and our epic failures. And then I take the lessons learned and I do a spiritual application in each one. As far as blogging, the ones that are marked Serenity Synergy has to do with the bees. We started an apiary in 2019. We've had 2 terrible years, and I am not kidding, where we went from 11 strong out of the winter to down to 1 last year because they got poisoned. And then this year, the freeze took out over half, and we just had 1 swarm. So we've got 4 more coming in to take their place. But it's been a brutal few years, and you can read all about it. And we also planted our orchard this year. We're thinking future, and the Serenity Synergy of it works because the bees pollinate the trees and the other gardens, which we're going to start greenhouse probably next year. Huge, huge greenhouse. So the bees pollinate all of that, which in turn, they take that and they make the honey. The honey help keep our immunity system up. If you have bad allergies, which East Texas is known for, find an apiary within 30 miles of your house that sells raw honey. That will help you with the allergies. Make sure it's raw. Make sure it's not processed. You know it's raw because what it does is it crystallizes. That's how you know it's raw. But what you do is, or what I do, is then I take the lessons, like I said, that we've learned, and I make sure that people don't repeat them. And I try to get at least 1 a month, sometimes 2. I have an email that goes out bi-weekly. I don't like to spam. So literally it's bi-weekly on Friday at 10 a.m. That's when you get your email. And I try to at least get 1 blog in for each one. Those 2 months was not working well because of everything going on, but we kind of got slammed.
You guys have had a very hard time, and my heart goes out to you, to your family, to Lydia, to your hubby, because that's a lot. Let's be honest.
If it was just those 2 are bad. But on top of it, his dad had to go into an assisted living facility. He lived in New York State, which is currently a lockdown state. So we couldn't even go see him and help. A Super Hubby has his L1 to S1 in his back are caged with 2 cages. And 6 out of the 8 screws are loose and have been loose for about a year. So he's going to have back surgery. We found all of that out at the end of November 2020. Like literally all at once. So we've been processing and trying to deal with a lot.
Okay, a lot now has become an understatement. Let's be honest. This went from, okay, you had a lot to, oh my Lord.
It was not good. Been a challenge.
Lord have mercy.
I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. If he puts us in front of it, he'll get us through it. And he has.
You are the personification of the Serenity Prayer. Let me put it this way.
Well, and the funny thing is our acreage is called Serenity Acres.
I see this. There is the reason for all this to happen, because I'm like, you have the serenity to handle some things, and I'm glad you have the wisdom to know which ones to handle, because, whoo, sweetie, I am hurting for you. I was like, God.
That's where the OCD and the ADD come in play. I try to keep everything organized with the OCD. So there's a process to get on my podcast, and it cracks me up because people are like, well, just get a hold of my calendar and you mark it. And I'm like, no, that's not my process, honey. You need to follow my process. Otherwise, you're going to get lost in the shuffle. You want to be on my podcast, we need to talk and follow my process. And the reason that's there is because I'm not only processing that, but any authors who contact us, we're doing that. And on top of that, I'm doing the blogging. Oh, and by the way, I'm currently writing a trilogy. So, yeah.
Sweetie, you are speaking to the choir, because I had switched my recording sessions for the podcast as well, just so we can continue to give everybody a brand new author every week. Mm-hmm. But I'm still a writer. So there is a piece of my soul that has to write, and I can't be recording all the time. So I switched it. There's a lot of moving pieces that need to be aligned.
And you understand this, when you run your own podcast, you have to keep those pieces in line and in the right direction.
Absolutely. Or else you're chasing different things. So tell us, sweetie, because you have so much experience in so much different things. What advice would you give an up and coming author or it's just a writer that wants to go on any of this journey? What would you tell them?
Write what you know and write from your core. Do not write per the latest because there's always fads that are going to change. In my books, I have people literally laughing and crying in the same book. I had my sister-in-law message me one time and say, this happened. I'm crying, bawling, and there are no tissues because I'm on a beach in Waikiki. I sent her back and said, sister, I had compassion on you to mention Waikiki or you're on your own. But that's my sister-in-law that I got crying. If I can make you laugh and cry in the same book, then I've touched your core. If I've touched your core, then I've touched your heart. That's what your goal needs to be because you can't change lives until you hit that core.
That is powerful. Absolutely powerful. Ooh, I love it. You've been writing for a while and you have such a powerful message. So, where can our listeners find you? Because you have so much, and I want them to make sure to get a hold of you.
Yeah, there's a lot that you can find on my website, and that's CJ Peterson Writes. That's CJPetersonWrites.com. And on there, you're going to find my latest books. You'll find interviews that I've done. You'll find appearances where my sister Lydia and I will, and sometimes my super hubby Trevor will show up. The series books, there's the standalone books, there's the Chief and Sarge books, which we haven't talked about in the children's books. And then there's also what's called the Treehouse, where I read books to kids on YouTube. And then there's also pictures, because photography is one of my passions as well. And so that's on there. And of course, the blog is on there. All of that included is on cjpetersonwrites.com. CJPetersonWrites.com.
Absolutely awesome. And appearances are coming. So I am so excited because I can't wait to see you guys again.
The first appearance will be in Kilgore for Geekend on May 1st and 2nd. In Kilgore at the Texan Theater, and I will be inside. And the other thing is I always have my books at special book show prices.
Ooh, awesome. Anybody looking to find Miss CJ this weekend, head over to Kilgore. If not, check out her website because there's so much fun in there.
And if you're an ebook reader, I have no problem as long as my theory is I don't care whether you're an ebook or paperback reader. Mine is that the message needs to get out. So even if you do an ebook, a portion of the proceeds still goes to help charities. But you need to catch up on everything because I'm about to jump into a new series with the trilogy. New people.
Translation, there's a lot more coming, so hurry up and catch up.
There's also a standalone I'm about halfway through as well. That one's Tested by Fire, where a fire marshal falls in love with a nurse. So moral dilemmas everywhere.
This is one of those never-ending searches and journeys. Every time I think, okay, I'm caught up, nowhere close. It's just continuous. Oh my Lord.
No, it's like a magician. Watch me pull this out of my hat.
It doesn't end. I'm like, oh my God, what just happened?
Welcome to my world.
I love it. I love it. And I can talk to you forever. So before we go, we're going to jump into the lightning round. Are you ready?
Sure. Why not?
I love these looks. Everybody goes, oh God, what happened? Easy peasy. Don't think too hard on them. We're going to have some fun. Ready?
Okay.
Cold drinks or hot drinks?
Cold.
Sweet. Breakfast or dinner?
Dinner. Hate breakfast.
Really?
I can't eat breakfast in the morning or I'll get sick. And dinner has to be eaten by 3 or I'll get sick. Thanks to my lovely 2016 debacle.
This is technically you're a lunch girl. Let's be honest.
Yes.
Okay. Wizard or knight?
Wizard. Because I like performing magic.
With your schedule and your timetable, you do magic every day. So absolutely. So now put your thinking hat on for your characters. If your main character in the book that you just read us had a theme song, what would it be?
Eye of the Tiger.
That was pretty quick. I love it. Here's our last fun one. Let's see how you do. If you had one meal or food item that represents your personality, what would it be?
Lasagna, because it's got layers.
That is so accurate. I cannot even fight it. I was like, yep, absolutely perfect.
It's got layers.
You have layers upon layers, and they're all very complex. So I love it.
Thank you.
It's been such an honor and such a pleasure. So tell me, sweetie, Any closing remark for us?
Just, it's always a treat to talk to you. So thank you for, like I said, letting me to crash into your podcast for today. Thank you to those who are listening. Please, please look me up. You will not be sorry. I promise you. People, when they read the books, are like, that's not what I expected. You're in for a surprise. And come find me out there in the real world after 2020 being locked in for the year. Trust me, I am like bouncing all over the place. I'm part of Star Trek Pathfinder. I'm play their chief of security, which we do meme-isodes, which are basically live action storyboards. And so we do those at a lot of the Comic Cons as well. And I know that we'll be in Kilgore and they'll be doing those there, as well as I'll be showing my books.
It's going to be exciting. I am ready for this year to kick off. I know you're ready. It's going to be fabulous.
Definitely. We got something planned for May, July, August, September, and October.
Your schedule sounds like mine, pretty much. It's coming. Everybody needs to be ready.
And I am so excited. I rebranded this year, so everything's been changed over, and I'm excited to show everybody my new stuff.
Excited for you. And to our listener, thank you so much for joining us in another episode of Inside the Minds of Authors. Go ahead, give this episode a like, share it, invite somebody to join us. Remember, we're always better when we're growing. And we'll see you back again next week for another amazing author. Bye, everyone.
Bye.